So tonight it is Mabel Baldwin-Schaeffer for tonight's Straight Science speaker. And like I said, she's no stranger. She was here in 2015 when she was a student doing king crab in Norton Sound. Before she begins, I want to let people know, if you're novel to Zoom, which some people may be, that on the bottom of your menu, there will be a thing that says chat. And it is, if you want to ask a question, we typically have questions towards the end, but the chat function allows you, if you're like me and you forget what you were talking about, you want to get that question in, put it in the chat box and we'll get right to it, and it'll be right there. Please know that callers, if we have a caller, our speaker tonight is having to call in from Anchorage, which is actually perfect, Mabel. That's hilarious, because normally the people with the least amount of internet have to call in, and unfortunately that happens to be the case right now for Anchorage. So she's calling in. Callers get priority on this Zoom call because typically it means they're calling in from a much smaller community than Anchorage. but so be it tonight. So tonight's, let's see, we'll have the speaker, questions at the end. And tonight, Mabel's going to talk to us about her background and history, how federal research of natural marine resources can better engage tribal government. And she's also going to give us a sneak peek at the bottom trawl survey, which was a Straight Science, unfortunately, that had to be canceled due to a change up of field plans. And we totally understand that around here. So with that, Mabel, we welcome you back. And welcome to Straight Science. Take it away. And just sing out when you need to do the slides. And Jackie, I'm going to go also off video, and you guys might want to too, just because if people are in Anchorage, they may be similar situation with Mabel as far as internet. So yeah, we're just going to have to do this blind, and hopefully Mabel will see you in person.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Mabel Baldwin-Schaeffer. The title of my Straight Science series presentation is Working Together to Meet Challenges of the Changing Alaska Marine Ecosystems. Slide 2, please.
Oh.
And I can't see that you have changed it, so you might want to just say, okay.
Okay, yes, I'm on the slide that says overview.
Okay, so before moving forward, I'd like to provide you with an overview of topics I will be discussing. They include introduction, background, a previous Straight Science series presentation, a couple of studies including a Norton Sound Red King Crab study and a Kuskokwim Bay water temperature study. I will not be presenting results from the crab study or the water temperature study in this presentation, but I can certainly forward you those finalized documents if requested. I will discuss my objectives as NOAA's first tribal research coordinator. Lastly, I will briefly discuss the plans for the 2021 NOAA Bottom Trawl Survey. Next slide, please.
Introduction.
I was born and raised in the native village of Kayana, where my 3 children and I are tribal members. Kayana is located on the Kobuk River in northwestern Alaska. Slide 4, please.
Background.
My educational background includes a Bachelor of Arts in Sustainability Studies and a Master of Science in Environmental Science, both of which came from Alaska Pacific University, located in Anchorage, Alaska. While in graduate school, I was part of the Fisheries Aquatic Science and Technology Lab, where students are immersed in real fisheries and marine science research projects centered in Alaskan waters. Slide 5.
Slide 5.
Okay, so this is my second Straight Science presentation. Back in August 2015, as Gay mentioned, while I was a graduate student, I gave a talk about my thesis project, which examined effects of offshore marine mining activities on Norton Sound red king crab habitat. And Goals of that study, which were to develop a collaborative partnership in NOAA to support a Norton Sound red king crab mining impact study, and 2, to develop and test acoustic methods for sampling and mapping seabed complexity. Next slide.
RKC study.
Okay. So the motivation of this crab and mining research stemmed from permitting agencies overlooking the NOAA recommendation that all mining activities be limited to depths less than 30 feet, where constant restructure of Norton Sound occurs and physical stability probably never occurs. Slide 7.
Slide 7.
Okay, just to give you a little background, juvenile red king crab prefer to settle on geological and biological substrates. Without those structures, they're subject to higher rates of mortality due to predation and physical disturbances. So we tested 2 different acoustic methods and their ability in detecting natural and mining-induced benthic features. The goal was to develop methods needed to generate data for future predictive modeling of mining effects. Next slide. Slide 8.
Slide 8.
Okay. Tremendous resources of time and effort were put toward the known mining study. Insights into the success of the project was spending time in the community and having extensive conversations with those affiliated with fisheries and the gold mining industry to generate multiple perspectives. Generating multiple perspectives to develop a meaningful composite is a new, different approach and considered extraordinarily valuable. Additionally, the inclusion of local participants provides a platform to voice concerns and aspirations, which is a benefit to individuals, communities, institutions, and policy development. Slide 9.
Hang on there, Mabel. Something is,
Okay.
try it again. For some reason, it didn't want to go to slide 9. And there's slide 9. Take it away.
Okay. Okay. So another output from this crab and mining project, other than building a strong collaborative network and changes to the Army Corps of Engineers permitting regulations, include an in-progress scientific manuscript titled Overcoming Barriers to Effective Cooperative Marine Research in Rural and Indigenous Communities. From my literature review and in that document, I incorporated lessons learned from other governmental and institutional studies. Several themes were articulated as areas for improvement, and they include application, sharing of information, demonstration, and time management. Within those themes, we proposed 28 concepts to help establish and foster collaborative relationships. Slide 10.
Lessons learned.
Okay,
Hey,
within
Casey,
our application.
Sorry to interrupt. We can't actually see the slides right now. After slide 9, you might have gotten off shared screen and never went back in or something, but we're not seeing the
That's
slides right now.
interesting. All right. Sorry, Mabel. And we'll try it again. Can you guys,
Okay. Yep.
Can you see that?
We can see it now, not in presentation mode, but we can see the slide.
All right. So Mabel, if it's okay, I'm not going to have it in presentation mode. There does seem to be some issue with switching it. So people will see the slide. And if the audience is okay with having it that way, that's where we'll do it. We'll roll with it.
Okay.
So we're on slide 10. Thank you so much.
Okay. So, and then going back to slide 9, it's just like a all those icons that are going to be included in all the themes. So you're not missing anything from slide 9. So going on to slide 10, within our application themes, we have appropriate training dealing with communities, familiar with culture, frequent visits, policymakers encouraged to visit communities, not always focused on business, provide a larger role, familiar with managers, do not put finances at fault, hold meetings in rural areas, and better preparation. Next slide.
So this is slide 11.
Okay, so within our sharing of information theme, we have report results back to the community in a timely manner, do not use jargon, included in all stages, accurate data, frequent sharing of information, two-way communication, use more than one informant, and open door discussions. Slide 12.
So Mabel, just so you know, slide 12 just had that list you read off. So I'm hoping we're on the right thing. So yes, we see it now. It says sharing of information on in a box and 2 people talking. Slide 12, it says.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess next slide with the demonstration and time management.
Okay, slide 13. Yes.
Okay. So in our demonstration theme, we have value, knowledge, respect, work together, commitment, bottom-up approach, sustained relationships, and honesty. In our time management theme, we have provide enough time to review information, frequency and length of meetings, and adequate project timeline. Next slide.
Cultural diversity.
Okay. There are over 200 tribes in Alaska spanning 20 broad cultures, and what we must keep in mind is that each tribe within those cultures are unique and complex. There are some similarities, but more differences. There's no one correct approach. In fact, each approach may be preferred over another. But what we do know is that marine environment is of high value to rural and indigenous communities in Alaska because it supports cultural, economic, social, and spiritual components. Next slide.
Cusco Bay.
Okay. Okay, so the Bering Sea Elders Group was established in 2007 because of the concerns about bottom trawling and possible movement of fishing fleets into northern waters where they had not operated in the past. And so as a project manager in the Fisheries Aquatic Science and Technology Lab at APU, Alaska Pacific, I managed a new collaborative initiative between the Bering Sea Elders and a Bering Sea commercial fishing fleet to better understand Kuskokwim Bay water temperature while simultaneously strengthening communication between Alaska Native communities and the commercial fishing industry. Next slide.
Gear design.
Okay, so 12 inner and outer shore locations, 6 each, were selected to allow representation of each group. The line depth of the designs were depicted by their selected locations, and each mooring was equipped with 3 sensors, 1 from the surface, or 1 meter from the surface, 1 meter from the bottom, and 1 in the center. Next slide.
It's got a map.
Let me see. Okay, gear designing locations.
It's got a map of what looks like Nunavut. And pending mooring
Okay.
placement, it's page 17 on your slide deck.
Okay. Let me see. So, let me see. No, we're supposed to go to the sensors. So it goes from gear design and locations, and then there's a slide of gear design and locations.
All right, keep going.
Okay. I really wish that I could see what you're seeing.
I'm looking
So,
at a map on, it says page 17 on the bottom under US, and then it says US Department of Commerce, NOAA, National Marine Fisheries Service, page 17.
Okay, mine says 15, but okay. So if you're looking at the map with like Nunavut Island and like some drawings on the left side, so let me see. Okay, well, let me see. The sensors were programmed to collect temperature at every hour, and a form was developed to record. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so maybe go to the next slide.
Tidbit V2 water temperature data logger. Page 18 on the bottom of the, reads on the NOAA Fisheries slide deck.
I think we're looking at a different presentation. It's not that different. Let me look. Okay, tell me what you're looking at.
Page 18 on the slide deck, it says on the title, Tidbit V2 water temperature data logger. Accuracy,
Yeah,
memory, small size, battery life.
Yep, I know what you're looking at, and that's an old presentation.
All right, then here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop share, tell the audience to hold for 1 second, and we will go to your PDF is what you had sent originally. Is that gonna be, so maybe there was something that was sent with the one you sent later. No worries at all. So I'm gonna shift it up. This is GNOME. We can do this. It's all right. Share screen. We'll go to the PDF. Can everybody in the audience see that?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to go, and I'm going to go right through the slides here, Mabel. So we did overview, introduction, background. I'm on page 4 of your slide deck. The Strait Science, page 5, Norton Sound Red King Crab Study, page 6, 7,
So
8, 9 is
go
lessons
down
learned.
to gear, go
Application.
down to gear design and location.
All right. There we go. All right. This was the original that you had sent, the PDF. So this is good. We're back on track. This has got gear design and location, and it says page 15 on your slide deck.
Yep, and then so next slide is where we're at now.
Okay. Kuskokwim Bay water temperature study. Here we go.
And then the gear design is after that, and then, right?
And the next slide, page 17 on your slide deck, is inner shore buoys.
Okay, let's just go to that one then. Okay,
All
so
right.
here's a picture of an outer shore buoy. Oh wait, let me see. So after programming all the sensors, all outer shore and inner shore setups were sent out in totes through cargo from the Anchorage airport. Here are pictures of the inner shore totes, a photo of one of our boat captains, and another of a boat captain retrieving one of the moorings. Is that the slide that you're on?
Yep. There's 3 slides.
Okay.
There is some red buoyed equipment in yellow covered totes.
Yep.
Gentlemen. Yep.
Okay,
and his
next slide then.
outer shore buoys.
Okay. Here's a picture of an outer shore buoy being deployed from the marine vessel named Constellation. The period of all buoys that we're able to retrieve ranged from 56 to 89 days, collecting water temperature at every hour. Next slide.
Bering Sea Elders Group.
Okay. So this project helps strengthen communication despite the strong cultural and economic gradient represented by the participants, and demonstrates Alaska Pacific University's commitment to community-based co-production of knowledge and understanding using multicultural and interdisciplinary approaches. All data from this project has been shared with cultural communities involved in this work. Next slide.
AFSC Comms Team, page 20.
Okay. So at the end of May, I have joined the Alaska Fisheries Science Center's communications program as their first tribal research coordinator, and will be based in Anchorage, Alaska. The Alaska Fisheries Science Center is the research branch of NOAA. NOAA is responsible for research on the coastal oceans off of Alaska and parts of the west coast of the United States. Next slide.
Objectives.
Okay, so in my role as tribal research coordinator, my objectives are to, one, provide vision, innovation, strategic thinking to strengthen communications to help build research partnerships with Alaska Indigenous communities, and two, to lead and support development and implementation of strategic science initiatives and research projects in partnership with Alaska Indigenous communities and co-management partners, and three, to represent the AFSC and NOAA fisheries on regional and national Indigenous engagement initiatives and working groups. Next slide.
Objective 1,
Okay.
page 22 on the slide deck.
Okay, so while strengthening communications to help build research partnerships with Alaska Indigenous communities, my responsibilities including overseeing the Alaska Fisheries Science Center's Indigenous Community Communications Protocol and to provide technical advice and support to scientists as part of their research plans and how to co-develop research priorities. Two, to work directly with Alaskan tribes with any issues and events that may affect them, such as research activities, grant opportunities, etc. And three, to develop outreach materials and represent Alaska Fisheries Science Center at key Indigenous community annual events. To name a few, they include the Alaska Forum on the Environment, the Alaska Federation of Natives, and the Alaska Tribal Conference on Environmental Management, Alaska Marine Science Symposium, and Arctic Encounters. Next slide. Oh, wait, no. I have two more. So support NOAA Live Alaska webinars, providing content, context, and seminar facilitation. And five, conduct in-person and virtual meetings with Indigenous community and fishing industry representatives as needed. Number 23.
23.
Okay, so I'd like to give you a little more information on NOAA Live Alaska. It's a series of webinars that connects NOAA scientists and partners with students, teachers, and Alaska communities. It's geared towards grades 2 to 8, but of interest to all ages. Topics so far has covered weather, oceanography, marine life, fisheries, and more in Alaska. I've included a link to the past recorded webinars. And I've recently reached out to school districts to see if there's a topic that hasn't been covered yet and what they are interested, for example, bearded seals, and hopefully an elder talking about traditional knowledge. The second series will begin in September and will run throughout the school year. And we're open to topics and can be flexible getting you on a schedule as a presenter or a co-presenter. Slide 24.
Objective 2.
Okay, while leading and supporting the development and implementation of science initiatives and research projects, my responsibilities include to lead discussions to help develop mutually beneficial scientific questions within different fishing sectors in Alaskan communities, and 2, to participate in workshops and seminar panels with marine resource managers and scientists, industry representatives, and groups representing Alaska Indigenous interests. 3, to present reports and presentations to communicate technical information. 4, to serve on the Alaska Fisheries Science Center and Bering Sea Research Partnership and other organizations to advance research coordination, collaboration, and co-development of research projects. And then last, number 5, is to support the Alaska Fisheries Science Center efforts to better incorporate traditional knowledge and local knowledge into ecosystem-related products. This is important because rural and Indigenous residents hold rich ecological knowledge. Next slide.
Highlights.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about the Alaska Regional Action Plan. NOAA Fisheries and its partners have developed regional action plans to guide implementation of the NOAA Fisheries Climate Science Strategy in each of its regions, and each of the action plan identifies priority needs to reduce impacts and increase resilience of the region's valuable marine resources and the communities that depend on them. Decision makers need information on what's changing, why it's changing, and how to respond. As of now, the public comment period, open and closing date has been announced for the Alaska Regional Action Plan draft, but once that's announced, I'll be sure to forward that. Slide 26.
Objective 3.
Okay, so while representing the Alaska Fisheries Science Center and NOAA Fisheries, my responsibilities are to attend ecosystem-related committees, serve as the AFSC tribal liaison, coordinate with Interagency Arctic Research Policy Committee tribal research coordinator. 4, to participate as the steering committee to plan and execute an Alaskan conference to develop a multi-organizational framework to improve communication, coordination, collaboration, and to create a framework for co-development of knowledge through a dialogue between marine mammal hunters and Western science researchers, and to lead efforts to build partnerships between tribal communities and NOAA fisheries scientists. Slide 27, and then Lyle could jump in at any moment if he's still in the meeting.
Lyle is in the meeting.
Okay, so should I just go ahead and then he can jump in after?
You go ahead. It's all good. Keep going.
Okay. Okay. So the initial plan was to co-present with the research biologist, Lyle Brett, and he was called out to an earlier survey in the northern Bering Sea. Mainly his talk would be reminding communities that survey vessels would be working in the area, in addition to providing survey data such as movement patterns of fish and invertebrates, additionally to monitor document changes, or ecosystem changes, and environmental data. such as water temperature, salinity, light, sea state, and wind speed. But the main point was to provide an opportunity for dialogue from communities with any science ideas that they may have. In the past, Lyle has had collaborative study projects with Norton Sound Economic Development Corporation and fishermen in Sabunga. It's my understanding that Lyle will be providing results in early November through the Strait Science Series. Lyle?
I think you did a great job, Mabel. That pretty much covered it. Normally, especially with someone like you, I would, at this point, want to find out what your availability was to go to sea and join us on the survey. But you luck out because we just finished up.
Okay.
And this is Gay.
Slide.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mabel, go ahead.
No. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Lyle. I was trying to jump on one of those. Couldn't make it to the shipping off station. So, anyways, slide 28.
And I'm just going to put, Mabel, this is Gay. I'm going to put in the chat box for everybody. There is a website associated with the Northern Bering Sea Bottom Trawl Survey, and they finalized that, and Lyle's back on land, and they do have a link you can click and get the actual temperature data at this time. And thanks for the plug. Lyle's going to be giving an overview of the results of the Northern Bering Sea Survey on 5th of November on Strait Science. So thank you, Mabel. And hopefully everybody can click in on that link and see the bottom water temperature results for that bottom trawl survey effort. Thank you, Mabel.
Okay, cool. Slide 28.
It's up. Related links.
Okay, so I've included several related links pertaining to any of my work. And before signing off, I wanted to say that there's been lots of interesting discussions, and there are a lot of really exciting proposals and projects waiting to get off of the ground. I'm really looking forward to our future's collaborative work to address issues and collaborate on decisions that may perhaps constructively influence fisheries management.
All right. Well, let me, is that everything, Mabel?
Yep, and then so with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
All right, let me stop share so we can get back to seeing people. All right, and I'm sorry, it was the phone connection, the video connection was so rough in Anchorage that we couldn't even get Mabel on. So I'm really glad, Mabel, you were adaptable with the technology. And that was unusual, I think, to see Anchorage so slow. But thank you. And before we get to questions, it's always nice to put in a little love for the speaker. So feel free to use your chat box at the bottom of the screen and give a little shout out to Mabel Baldwin-Schaeffer. And we'll open, you've already gotten some claps. We'll open it up to questions. I know I've got a question, but we'll see if anybody's got questions. So Mabel, it looks like you've got a big, long list. That was very quick, seeing all the different and hearing all the different roles you'll play. What's the most, I don't know, what's the most unexpected part of this position for you so far? Because you're just starting. It's kind of tough because you're in a brand new position. What's the most unexpected thing so far?
Well, you know what? Like when I took on the role, and then even just hearing about it, I'm thinking, oh, that's easy, but I've heard more than just one person saying, how is she going to do this?
So that would be the unexpected part.
Yeah.
Well, you're on a great team. You're with Maggie and the people of the Alaska Fisheries Science Center. Where in Anchorage? My other question is, where are you located? Like where, eventually when people can travel, and Bering Strait region's having trouble with COVID right now. But where would we find you say somebody wants to find you when they're in Anchorage, where would your office be? I'm assuming you're probably working at home like everybody else with the COVID business.
Yeah, yep.
When we get
Right
back
now,
onto it.
yeah, right now I'm teleworking like everybody else within NOAA, but I will be based in downtown, like two or 3 days a week, but
So
mostly
you would-
from home until everything makes a lift with the pandemic.
So are you in the federal building downtown?
Yes.
Okay, that's where we'd find you. That's a big landmark,
Yeah.
that building. That's good to know.
Yeah, and then so if anybody has like any requests or want to like send an email or something, I didn't provide that in any of my slides, so I'm just thinking that maybe those requests would go through you or.
Here, wait, I can grab your email.
Yeah, and you can share it on a
And
slide.
I can
or
share it.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let me grab it. And back to here. Throw it in the. So I'm putting it right now in the chat. It's Mabel.Baldwin. There it is. And what's your phone number, Mabel? It's 907.
354-6838.
6838.
Yep.
I'll put Mabel's number, phone. All right. All right. Now I know that there's some researchers here in the audience, and I'm sure people are wondering, do they reach out to you if they're going to do a study, or how do you sort of, what would be the best course of action to tell? I see you have, oh, and Rick Toman, I see your hand is up. So I see that there's researchers here. What would be the best course of action if researchers have questions? Just to pick up the phone?
Yeah. Yeah, so the protocol actually hasn't even been released yet, but that's in draft mode. But eventually, yes, I'm going to be the person to take that type of role, just to make sure that like all the steps are followed through and that there's something in place and right.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds like there's more. There'll be something for everybody to read, and there'll be a protocol coming.
Yes.
Okay. And I see Rick Toman. So he's in Fairbanks. He's with UAF. Rick Toman has his hand up. Hello, Rick.
I just wanted to say thanks, Mabel, for doing this. It's really helpful to hear from you kind of what you see as your role here, given that this is a new position within Alaska region for NOAA. I was in your shoes 8 years ago, and I wish that I had done things like you've done tonight. And so the managers that are on the call here, this is really helpful to have folks in these new positions as we build out. This is really useful to get this out there. So thanks a lot, Mabel.
Thank you, Rick.
All right. Any question or comments from any of the other audience members? I see you've got there's some NOAA here, UAF here, Sea Grant, ARCUS. All good. And thank you to Kathy Rubino and Noam Nugget. So we do have both the newspaper and the radio here, and I appreciate you guys coming in. And do you have any questions for Mabel on her new position as NOAA Tribal Research Coordinator? Quiet for media people.
And it's a real bummer
they may
that
have been
I can't
stepped away.
see.
So, I know.
Yeah. And
It's terrible.
it's a bummer that I can't see everybody.
I know. Well, actually, everybody's being really good except me, and everyone has their videos turned off. So it's just a host of names. So you're not missing. I'm just sorry they're not seeing you. We should have had an emergency photo to put right up. But that's okay. I'm sure we will get you back in the future, and the connection down in Anchorage will be better, and we'll muddle through much better. So thank you for your patience, Mabel.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you also for being so adaptable.
So I guess one other question I have, and that is, if you're non-tribal and you're not an Indigenous community member, how will that work for several of the stakeholder constituency in Western Alaska and Northern and all over the state? So should non-tribal members not contact? How is that? Is that also going to be maybe how does that work?
Well, I think that would fall into the local knowledge, right?
Okay. I mean, okay. No, that would be good. I think maybe a discussion on sort of developing research if it's affecting Indigenous communities. Absolutely. Sounds like this is a great position and really needed. For the others who may not fall in that category, but live in Western Alaska, I'm just, can we contact you, or do we contact you, or how would that work? We will talk with you more about it later. If you don't have an answer, that's okay, because it's all new questions. So I'm sure a lot of people have questions. No worries. We'll figure it out. All right. With no other questions, we will let everybody know that Straight Science is taking a little break until September 9th, when we will have Nicole Mizzardi, and she's in UAF in Fairbanks, and they've done a lot of work using walrus tissues, bones, teeth, and whatnot that have been collected out of the Bering Strait region for many, many years, and were archived. And now these nice people have dove back into these archive collections and are doing some really interesting research, and will be able to give us news using old samples, and that will be really well received. And we're very interested to hear what they have to say, and that will be September 9th, will be the next Straight Science.